everybody, welcome back to Foxy Pattern Sewing channel. For those who are new here, my name is Sandra and I'm the face behind the Foxy Pattern designs. Today we're gonna make another sew along video, and this time we're gonna sew my pattern that's called Inga Dress. This dress is an absolute gem, a playful asymmetrical design that gives you the freedom to experiment with colors and textures. Look at this version here, isn't it stunning? You can see how I mix fabrics to make it pop. For today's project, I'll be sewing a version with solid, bold colors that really complement one another. Let me introduce the fabrics I've chosen. I'm using this linen cotton blend, which feels lovely and light, perfect for this design. One thing to note before we start, pre-wash your fabric. This type of fabric tends to shrink a lot. Here's the plan for today. I'll use a deep dark green for the top part of the dress, the bodice and the sleeves, as well as the back bodice and the neck facing. A lighter green will bring life to one side of the skirt and its matching pockets. And finally, a crisp white will add flair to the other side of the skirt and its pockets. With everything prepped and cut, we're ready to bring this dress to life. Let's dive right in, starting with the front bodice. First up, the darts. Now, the darts might sound intimidating, but trust me, they're simple once you get a hang of them. Here's my favorite method. First, match the ends of the darts, then pin the tip. The fabric almost lines up naturally. Secure the middle with another pin and you're good to go. Sew along the dark line, but there is a pro tip: don't backstitch at the tip. Instead, leave the long threads and tie them by hand for clean and smooth finish. Once both darts are sewn, press them down towards the bottom of the bodice, and that's it, the front bodice is already taking the shape. Next, it's time to attach the front skirt. This is where the asymmetrical magic begins. Start with the right side of the skirt and make sure you marked all the notches and noted where the side seam is. It's indicated on the pattern piece. Place it against the bodice, imagining how it would look once sewn. It's like visualizing the finished masterpiece before stitching a single thread. Make sure to note the wrong and the right side of the fabric and note where the side seam is. Then flip the skirt over, pin it securely and sew it to the bodice. Don't forget to finish the raw edges and press the seam allowances downward. It's a small step, but it makes all the difference. Now we will follow the same steps on the left side of the skirt. Make sure to mark all the notches, the right and the wrong side of the fabric, and make sure that you noted where is the side seam. Lay the fabric the way that it will lay after being sewn, meaning place it right side up and side seam aligned with the side seam of the bodice. Then flip it over. The left side of the skirt is a little bit trickier because it's a curved edge. To make it easier to pin it, pin first the top and the bottom of the skirt and align and distribute the rest of the seam evenly. Sew it in place, finish the raw edges and press the seam allowance towards the hem. And just like that, the front of the dress is done. Now we will move to the back of the bodice, and the first step is to install the zipper. Start by finishing raw edges of the center back seam. Place the zipper coil right sides down along the seam allowance on the right side of the back pattern and pin it. Like this, the zipper and the fabric will be right sides together with coils facing the side seam. Pin or hand baste the zipper in place. Sew the zipper in place, rolling the coils out. Use this invisible zipper foot because it will help you to keep the stitching really close to the coils, ensuring that the zipper is really invisible. Here you can see how to place the invisible zipper foot. Now flip the side of the back bodice with the installed zipper over to the other side of the back bodice, placing them right sides together. This will help you to position the other side of the zipper. Remember, the zipper coils should face the side seam and the zipper should be facing right sides with the fabric. Pin into place or hand baste it, zip it up to check if it's installed correctly. Sew it in place using the invisible zipper foot. Here you can see how close the stitching is to the zipper coils. Now we need to finish the rest of the seam, and some find it difficult to have a clean finish close to the zipper. I have a technique to show you here. First, align the center back and pin it in place. Then mark the seam allowance close to the end of the zipper. You do not need to mark it all the way, just close to the zipper, as you can see in the video. Here you can see that if I'm using the regular sewing foot, the needle will have a hard time to reach the zipper seam. That is why I like to use regular zipper foot, which will allow you to sew as close to the zipper seam as possible. We will sew this seam in 2 steps. First, where you marked the seam allowance, start a few centimeters or inches below the zipper, push the zipper ends to the side and slowly sew along the marked seam allowance. Here you can see how close I managed to get to the zipper stitching. This is not exactly aligned, but the small difference will not be visible at the end. Now use the regular foot to finish the rest of the seam. Press the seam allowances open, and here you can see that the zipper is installed perfectly. With the back bodice ready, we can attach the back skirt pieces. It's the same process as with the front. Align the side seams, pin, sew, finish, and press. Make sure to mark all the notches and note where the side seams are. That will help you to align the left and right side of the skirt much easier. I will speed through this process here because it's the same as in the front. Now for the pockets. These are such a practical feature and I love how they blend seamlessly into the design. First, finish the raw edges of the side seams. Then finish the raw edges of all 4 pockets and press the seam allowances flat. Here I'm marking the right and the wrong side of the fabric to ensure that I serge on the right side of the fabric. Now pin the pockets at the marked notches and sew a 3/8 of the inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Repeat the same on all 4 pockets. Now press the pockets open. The next step is to understitch all 4 pockets to ensure that they stay in place. To do that, I like to use edge stitch and foot, as you can see in the video. But this foot is absolutely not necessary. You can do that with the regular foot. And that's how the pocket should look right now. Now it's time to join the front and the back bodice, starting with the shoulder seams. First, finish the raw edges of the shoulder seams. Then pin them together, sew, and press the seams open. Now we will move on to the side seams. First align the skirt seams and then the rest of the seam. Sew down the side seam, pivoting neatly around the pocket curve. Carefully press the seam allowances open. Repeat on the other side and you're well on the way to a finished dress. And that's how the finished bodice looks. Now it's the time to finish and perfect the neckline. As a first step, interface the front and the back facings. Start by serging the raw edges of the side seams of the facings. Then sew the front and the back facings together at the side seams. And press the seams open. Now finish the raw edges of the facings. The next step is to pin the facings to the neckline. First, align center back. And shoulder seams. Then pin all the way around and sew with 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter seam allowance. Carefully press the facing away from the neckline. To reduce bulk, trim the seam allowances in half and press them towards the facings. Understitch along the facings to keep everything flat and neat. Make sure that the seam allowances are folded towards the facing. Carefully press the facing in place. And that's the look of the finished facing. Finally, align the facings with the zipper edges at the center back and sew them in place using a zipper foot. Flip the facings to the inside and press a neckline. And here you have a perfect neckline finish. The sleeves are next. First, make sure you have all the notches marked. To prepare sleeve gathering, sew 2 parallel rows of gathering stitches along the sleeve cap between the notches. I also like to press the hem right away, but you can also do that after the sleeve is installed. For the gathering stitch, make sure you switch the stitch length to the longest possible at your sewing machine. Make sure to leave long threads at both ends so you can gather the fabric later. Fold the sleeve right sides together, sew the side seam and finish the raw edges. Now the fun part begins. By pulling the bobbin threads, gather the sleeve cap. At this point you don't have to be very precise, but this is how the sleeve should look at the end. To attach the sleeve to the bodice, you need to match the notches. 2 notches for the back, 1 for the front, and align the seams. Pull the gathering threads to adjust the sleeve cap if it's necessary, and you're ready to insert the sleeve. Turn the sleeve right side out and the garment wrong side out, insert the sleeve into the sleeve hole, and pin everything in place. Sew the sleeve at 3/8 of the inch or 1 cm seam allowance. I recommend to remove the gathering stitch before you finish the raw edges of the sleeve. This makes it so much easier. Now for finishing the hemline, I do like to hand baste the hemline in place, but you can also choose to pin it in place if you want it a bit faster. Sew the hemline in place using edge stitching foot. But you don't have to use the edge stitching foot, you can use a regular sewing foot. Carefully press the sleeves in place, and here you have it, the sleeves are finished. The final step is hemming the dress, and this rounded skirt deserves a special attention. Rounded hems can twist if not handled carefully. Here you can see an example of the hem that is twisted, but I have a trick to show you how to avoid that. First, sew a basting stitch at 3/8 of the inch or 1 cm away from the raw edge, all the way around the hem. Use this basting stitch as a guide to press the hem up. Then gently pull the basting thread to ease the curve, creating a slight gather, just enough to help the hem to lie flat, but not to create gathers. Fold the hem up the second time, pin or hand baste in place, press it and sew it down. The result is perfectly smooth, professional looking hem. And here you can see the comparison between the 2 hems. And there you have it, the Inga dress is complete. I sewed this dress while already expecting, and you can see that it's suitable for a tiny belly as well as for a 9-month belly. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new tutorial. Until next time, and happy sewing!